This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, so use the code Kenobi at checkout or the link in the description below to get 5% off your order. Today we're playing some Mono Red Prison. This is going to be a slow play. This is a classic, this is an old one, a bit easier on the editing workload for myself and the editor. This is going to be me talking and rambling. Hell, might even go off topic, like in the old days. We're playing some Mono Red Prison in Legacy today, most excitedly, and for the big reason that, firstly, most people don't realise that Fireflux plays his play in Legacy, so we'll talk about that in a second. But we also have Fable of the Mirror Breaker, a 3-mana saga from Kamigawa Neon Dynasties, a set that feels like it came out 5,000 fucking years ago, but was actually, like, what, 2 sets ago? This thing makes a goblin that makes treasure, so it gets you mana. It sorts through our deck with drawing and discarding, and eventually it becomes a mini Kikijiki, which doesn't have a combo finish in our deck, mainly because the reflection version of Kikijiki doesn't actually go infinite, you need mana to do it, but we can duplicate Furies, Fireflux squads, and Goblin Rabble Masters and Legion War Bosses, which is pretty good. Outside of the sweet new tech, we are playing Mono Red Prison. That means our deck has 15 lands in it, 4 Chrome Moxes, 4 Simian Spirit Guides. That means there are 23 mana sources in the deck. Oh, don't forget Shatter Skull Smashing. Actually, it should be close to 50%, so that makes a lot more sense. 27, including some relatively new tech. I mean, it feels new, but again, Zendikar Rising came out a million years ago at this point. From there, we're going to lock out our opponent with Trinispheres, Shatters of the Void, and something I've seen people playing on in the deck recently in challenges is Tanglewire. And whilst I've used Tanglewire many a time in Cube, I've never actually cast it in Legacy. So that's kind of exciting. Blood Moon rounds out our prison pieces of turning people's lands off, charge to stop them casting spells as a Trinisphere, and then you have threats. Legion War Boss and Rabble Master, we've got 8 Rabbles essentially. Bonecrusher Giant is a big thick boy that also shoots people with his damage. Then we've got Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Fury as a removal spell, it's also just a big double striking beat that we'll end up casting, and Fireflux Squad being a 4 mana, hasting 4/3, that when it attacks you, choose another creature you control, you basically exile it or get rid of it, and you go through your deck and find another creature. So the Fireflux Squad will summon a Fury or a Rabble Master or similar. The last bit to understand is that we've got a lot of utility lands. Nowadays you've got Zogan, the Crucible of Defiance, Zokenzan, and then the Bugbear as a creature land, but primarily our utility is really grand. We've got City of Traders and Ancient Tomb, that makes us 8 soul lands, which allows us to cast Charge of the Void on 1 on turn 1, or Blood Moon or Trinisphere off of a Chrome Mox or a Simian Spirit Guide. We're looking to have a hand where we lock them, and then we play a threat. That's the deck. It's pretty simple and straightforward. I don't think it's as brain dead as people make out, but it is my relaxation deck where I do feel like I have to put a lot less effort into my lines in the long term. It's not skill-less, but it's less skill-intensive than some of the premium decks in Legacy. One thing I want to point out is that we're calling this deck Mono Red Prison because it's Mono Red Prison. Goldfish keeps calling it Mono Red Aggro, or Mono Moon Aggro, or Red Blood Moon Aggro. Fuck off. This deck is not an aggro deck. This is quite a slow opener with only a Blood Moon as our lock piece, and then our follow-up isn't great. Although we have ways to kill creatures if they're a creature-based deck like Elves or D&T with Fury. Oh, this is slow. This is really slow. We can draw a Chrome Mox or Simian off the top when it speeds us up. And we do have action. I think it's a really mediocre hand, but I don't think it's bad enough to mulligan. I'm going to keep it on the draw. If I was on the play, I would be just windmill mulligan in this, because we want more proactive prison pieces. We drew a Rabble, not ideal. I was going to play down the Bugbear and pass the turn. Arguably, bleeding Mountain first might have been better, so that we can't get like wastelanded. But Mountain Go is an embarrassing start for a deck like this, so I kind of resent it. We drew a Rabble Master. I think we're going to try and stick a Rabble now and a Blood Moon later. The reason for that being is if we Blood Moon ourselves, we've got a 3rd land follow-up, but they will 100% counter this, or kill it with the Plowshares. Okay, here comes the Plowshares. They've got a basic plains, which is frustrating. We don't really want to play against decks that have lots and lots of basic lands, and it looks like we're against some sort of blue-white control deck that will have lots and lots of basic lands. We drew a Blood Moon. Again, I'm just not thrilled by the idea of trying to slam a Blood Moon, so I'm going to go with... I guess I'm going to go ahead and play Rabble Master again. Them having fetches to go get basics means that Blood Moon is just terrible here, and we've drawn 2 of them, which isn't ideal. Once we have the mana to play around Days, I don't think they're playing Days. Straight up Force of Will, getting rid of Days Undoing. So there's some sort of Narset deck that's going to do a draw 7. They miss a land drop, which is pretty good. We draw a Fury. We're actually quite a bit of a way off of actually casting a Fury. By that I mean 1 land. Quite a bit off. 1 land is hardly that, right? We have a treasure creating goblin now. On the upside, the Tales of the Fables of the Mirror Breaker will actually allow us just to discard these Blood Moons and find some actual gas. They miss another land drop. We're going to tick up our Fable now, and we're going to discard up to 2 cards. We're going to discard both these Blood Moons, so I just don't think they're good here. We found 2 more lands and a Legion War Boss. It's pretty good. We're just going to keep zapping ourselves with this Ancient Tomb. I'm going to play a Legion War Boss here, put some pressure on them. Of course, they're going to play Terminus. Maybe once and get a copy of Supreme Verdict like back in the day. Unlikely. So we've got to play around Terminus a little bit, but also just committing to the board a few threats, keeping the Furies back for a follow-up. This also means that next time we get to make a second Legion War Boss and swing for a lot. It's not a Rabble, because a second Rabble would be a huge amount of damage. But I say this actually, does it even have haste on the other side? No, so it's not even like normal Kiki where it has haste. I'm not sure if I like this card. So it gets exiled, it comes back as a reflection of the Kiki, and then, do we want another land or do we want to hold on to Shatter Gang to be able to shoot stuff? Shatter Skull, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to hold the Shatter Skull in hand so we can shoot to fairies and stuff. We make a body, them letting us go to combat, make a body tells us they haven't got Path to Exile or whatever. Souls to Plowshares, sorry there. We make another treasure here, we get in for a whole bunch. We're going to mentor. We are Goblin Tribal at this point, but not a Goblin deck per se. Okay, we see March of Otherworldly Light hitting our Kamigawa token. Kamigawa card versus Kamigawa card. The reason they hit the token is because it's 0 mana, right? So they can hit it for 1 white. They should have done that before we went to combat because we got another treasure token off of that. And now I just slam a Tangle Wire, and if they haven't got a counter spell for it, they are in serious trouble because they're going to be tapping down all their lands. Oh, they got Forced Negation there, pitching a Flusterstorm because Tangle Wire was basically like lights out for our opponent there. They find a 4th land. Are we going to see a Verdict? I haven't seen a Verdict in Legacy in a long time. But 4 mana is historically the Wrath mana, right? Yeah, there we go. It's been a long time, friend, but it's good to see you. In their end step, I'm going to shoot myself again, pay a red off this treasure here. I'm just going to stomp them in the face down to 6. We untap. We can now slap them with Den of the Bugbear, and they are tapped out, which is pretty good. We slap them here for 4 points of damage, taking them to 2 and leaving a 1/1 body on the board. But we're setting our threat into our mana base, so they can't just, like, easily kill it. They play another land, and they pass back the turn. They've got 2 cards in hand. We draw Blood Moon here, which is literally fucking useless. We're going to make him have it by making another Den of the Bugbear. Go to combat attack. They can't have a singular piece of spot removal here, because it will make 2 damage off the 2 goblins. So they need to be able to kill more than one thing here. A Snappy into Plowshares would be pretty good for them. We would take them to 1. They have the Wandering Emperor. Okay. So they have to kill our Den of the Bugbear, but they still just die. Oh, they gain 2 life from it. I forget that it gains them life. We'll kill the Wandering Emperor with the 1/1 we just made. We lost a land there, so I am going to play my Shatter Skull and not play the life, because I don't want to not be able to play my Furies next turn if my treasure token goes bye-bye for some reason. They crack up his Magic Vista down to 2, which means we've got lethal goblins on board, but that means they've got to have a decent 5-mana spell here. Big Teferi, perhaps? No, Jace the Mind Sculptor. I think Jace the Mind Sculptor is still quite a commonly played card in the blue-white decks where Teferi doesn't see any. But then again, I would have guessed that Supreme Verdict was out of favour too. They fire off Jace's Downtick and a Prismatic Ending to reduce our board presence, but put them to no cards in hand, 2 life. We're just going to slam a Fury here, which will allow us to kill the Jace because it can shoot creatures and planeswalkers to take 4 damage to the Jace. And then I'm going to play a Mirror Breaker as well, just to give us some more pressure. We're on 4, by the way, but their deck doesn't really have the reach to just kill us randomly. They have not attacked us once, but we have we have Ancient Tombed ourselves to 4. They find a Narset and they downtick. They are now looking for something that can kill both of these threats. No, they don't find it. So we get them in game 1. These Blood Moons are terrible against the plethora of basic lands in our opponent's mana base, so we're going to drop those Blood Moons. I think I'm going to bring in both Pyroblast and the Trinispheres here. Now, Pyroblast is very bad if we have a chance on 1, but if we have a chance on 1, we're probably in a good spot. That said, we didn't see any cantrips out of them, which is very strange, right? They had a very weird draw. We did see a lot of 1-mana interaction, though. Swords to Plowshares, Flusterstorm and such. But yeah, I'm assuming they're playing 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder, and maybe even some number of Seven Visions. But 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder is almost certain if they're playing blue-white control. This hand has a Simian, a Bolt Land, and a City of Traders in it, which is pretty awkward. Leading with City of Traders means that we end up losing our land the next time we play a land, which means we might be way behind in terms of what we can do with interacting with our opponent. It is quite an aggressive hand with Legion War Boss and Rabble Master, but into the decks that play Plowshares, that isn't the best sequence or line. So I think I'm going to mulligan. If that was an Ancient Tomb, I would have kept. This hand has just an Ancient Tomb, so we cannot keep this. So we're going to be mulliganing again to 5. Our opponent's on 6 cards, and we have 3 lands. 3 lands. So they're shit lands, and this is terrible, and we've basically... I'll be surprised if we manage to win this game, but we're going to keep this. I'm going to bottom the Fury and 1 Rabble, I guess, because we need to have some way to interact with Planeswalkers from the looks of things. Fury is probably better than Bonecrusher Giant, but we aren't casting it other than pitching cards from hand. And card disadvantage isn't great here, as we don't have any lock pieces. So they're going to get to cast all their cantrips and get all their card selection. And then us going 2 for 1 is not great. We drew a Simian Spirit Guide, which is certainly something. We're just going to play a Bolt Land tapped and pass the turn. Strand from our opponent, so we can Simian out the Goblin Rabblemaster next turn. I miss Chandra Torch Defiance. That's a card that I always enjoy playing in this deck. I'm really sad to see that it doesn't get played. I mean, I think if I was going to leave this up for an event, I probably would just play Chandra anyway. It's probably not. I do love Chandra. We're going to go ahead and Simian out this Rabble. Probably 2 for 1 ourselves. I don't necessarily want to do that, but if they haven't got a Plowshares here, we're in a good spot. They're going to cast Brainstorm before the Rabblemaster resolves. So they're either looking for counter magic, or they're looking for a Plowshares. And then any cards that they don't want from their hand, they can put back on top of their library and shuffle it away with the Strand. So minimal situation here, the Brainstorm is going to really set up their hand. Basically the interaction being Brainstorm plus fetch lands. That's the not broken, but the backbone of the format. Did they crack this fetch for a white source? I'd rather they didn't. I'd rather they just didn't have a solution. Okay, we get a 2 for 1 out of this, but it's not a 2 for 1, because of course we use Simian. So it's actually a 2 for 2, and they pitched a Force of Negation to their Force of Will, which means you might be able to land a lock piece if we draw one. Imagine drawing prison pieces in your prison deck. The untap, they play a Golden Time, they're cracking it. I think we've got a Narset in our future. I'm going to sip my coffee as it happens. Oh, it's a Raveler instead. So whilst Big Teferi isn't good enough for Legacy, Time Raveler very much is. Okay, this is not great, because this is an answer to anything we play. Although Mirror Breaker actually leaves a body behind on the board when we play it. So actually, Mirror Breaker might be one of our best draws into the Teferi. They can't cleanly just wipe it off the board and draw a card with this down tick. The whole stopping you play instances, for the most part, not that important for our deck. We can't Bonecrusher Stomp them in their turn, but that doesn't really matter too much for the most part. I guess we can't interact with a Narset that's on low if they Narset and do some cantrips and try and wheel us. We're going to return the Fable back to our hand, which allows us to make another Goblin token. So they Prismatic End in the first Goblin, that's fine. And then they're going to have Counterspell up for the Fable as it comes down next. We draw an Ancient Tomb. I'm going to stomp the Teferi here to see if we can learn out the counter magics. I think I want the Fable to filter our hand a bit more than I want this Stomp / Giant. Maybe letting the okay, they didn't have a counterspell for that. So they're more scared of the Fable, perhaps? Let's find out. Do they have they literally don't have counterspell. They're representing it, they're faking it, they're bluffing it, but they did not have it. I'll take that. Also, getting the Giant into the Adventure Zone means we aren't discarding it to the Fable, but although we are drawing a second card before we get to the second pip of Fable, so we will just discard whatever we draw. It's a War Boss. I do want the War Boss, but I think I will just discard both of these cards. Oh, up to 2 cards. Okay, I'll discard 1 card then. Oh my god, that's so good. That's so fucking good. I didn't realize it's up to. Okay, I'm falling in love with the Fable. Slowly but surely. We're going to play a Chalice of the Void on 1 to turn off Plowshares, Ponders, Brainstorms, and Flusterstorm. I'm then not going to... Do I commit the War Boss into the fucking Verdict that's on our horizons? I think we do. Well... We've got to make them Verdict. I guess arguably just making the Kiki copy, the shadow of a Kiki. They're not so good. So they can have Wandering Emperor here, and they can have the X-Spell as well that has an instant speed from Kamigawa. They have a Wandering Emperor. They exile the Shaman. Oh, they make a 2/2 Knight, that's way better. Okay, so there's trade with the Goblin token. So that's like a 0 for 0, because both of those were generated by other cards. They cast a Narset, so they're starting to do what they want to do. Play Planeswalkers and dig. They find a Preordain. They cast it and it's immediately countered by Chalice. There we go. Did our opponent say oof in chat? No, but they do make a White Samurai. We untap and we flip our Mirror Breaker. We're just going to play a Trinisphere. It makes their spells a lot worse. Also, having an empty hand is good for it, because they're going to wheel at some point. We make 2 1/1s. We go to combat and we attack Narset with both of them, because this puts it to the 2. So if she digs into her deck, -2 to go find a wheel, she then can't stop us from drawing cards with that wheel. So they can't just cast the wheel. And although our hand is empty, we don't want them drawing 7 cards, because that'll be game. We could have killed the Wandering Emperor there, but what's she going to do? She's going to put some counters on a fucking knight? Who cares? Who cares? Says PleasantKenobi. I say that. It's a samurai, not a knight. Force of Will into hand from the Narset. Force of Will costs them 3 mana, by the way, because of Trinisphere. Trinisphere makes all cards cost 3 mana at all times, basically. Long and short of it. Doesn't combo with Thorn of Amethyst or anything like that, or Thalia. The 1 increase is counted within that 3. Transfer is such an interesting card. I really like it. We have now a 3/3 Samurai. Our opponent goes to tap a white mana and then doesn't, so I wonder if that's a Plowshares that they can't cast because of the Chalice. Telling, some might say. We untap and we draw a Simian Spirit Guide. In our main phase, we're going to create a Legion Warboss copy. This Warboss can attack now. It can mentor things. And it dies at the end step. So we get 2 1/1. We put 3 1/1s into the Emperor, which guarantees it kills it. And we put the Warboss... Wait a minute, no. We go Warboss and 3 of these into the Wandering Emperor. And then we put this one into their face. And then we trigger the Warboss's mentor ability and put it on the face one, so we get more points to the face. They block the Warboss. The Wandering Emperor dies. They take 2. And second main phase, do I cast a Simian Spirit Guide? Because if I don't, we can cast it post-Wrath, I guess. The hand is like Plowshares, Force of Will, and 1 Unknown is the read that I've got. I'm just going to cast a Simian so we can overwhelm this 3/3. I guess it being a 3/3 means we're never really getting around it. They can hard cast a Force of Will to counter this. I don't think that's correct. They even know we've got a Giant in our Adventure Zone as well. So, but I guess just getting it out of there whilst they still can is something. The reflection of the Kiki making a Warboss every turn and allowing us to make 2 Goblins is pretty strong. It's almost like we're playing 12 Rabble. We're going to copy a Warboss again. I don't want to commit anything else to the board that isn't like a shitty Spirit Guide. Like, if they had a counterspell here for Warboss, that'd be great for them. They don't, so we can play it. Sorry, my asthma's playing up there, almost coughing. But, I don't want them just to verdict unless I've not much of a follow-up, so I'm going to hold the Warboss in. We pick some more Goblins. Rabble, Rabble, Rabble. Now, of course, we haven't actually seen a Rabble, unfortunately. There's a lot of damage coming out of these 2 Goblins. Like, 2 Goblin cards have created all of this. Both the not quite Kiki and the Warboss. They go to 5, and I just don't commit anything else to the board. They're going to die if they don't do something, and this leaves us with a card in hand and a card in the exile. The Adventure Zone that we can resolve if they don't Wrath, and we got them! Comment section. Blue-white control is no match for the power of a shit ton. A bucket. A fucking bucket. A fucket of goblins. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, hit that like button down below and let me know. Deck is sweet. Legacy is sweet when you're not playing against Murktide. Thanks for watching. There's more videos linked on screen right now. I appreciate you all for engaging with this content. There'll be more videos throughout this week. There'll be a little bit less next week, 'cause I'm on holiday. But then the rest of July is going to be hot fucking pickings. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.